The chewing process will increase the surface area of the food. It will cause us to release saliva as well from our salivary glands, and it increases and lubricates it, mixing it with the saliva. So it is physically, mechanically, but also the chemical process of digestion begins because the saliva can chemically break down the food, making it into smaller subunits. Digestion of starch begins in the mouth, and we break the starch down to but 2 units of glucose, and we call those 2 units, it's a dies sugars, we call that maltose. So we swallow the food, it's called a bolus, and it moves down into that long tube you can see there on the right of the screen. And the process of peristalsis pushes the food along this tube. So peristalsis is, as I was just saying a moment ago, is the alternate contraction of the tube and the relaxation of the longitudinal muscles below that sort of squeeze point. The food, the bolus of food, lubricated now down to the stomach. There's a little sphincter muscle at the top of the stomach, which regurgitating the food once it's in the stomach. The stomach is a very muscular sac to hold the volume, but also it will mix it with hydrochloric acid, which helps protect us from bacteria and it's also full of enzymes, protease enzymes, which break down. So at this point, we've broken down some starch partially and some protein. And from there, from the stomach, the food moves into the small intestine there, which is a really long tube and has a huge for absorption of food. So the food gets absorbed in the small. It's really, really long, as I said, but it's highly folded. Lumen of the tube is folded as well, and that folding increases the surface area. And on the surface, there are villi and microvilli, and these further increase the surface area and allows us food. We also saw at the end of last session that the diffusion distance is really short between the, and so this bit here is the whole of the tube of the small intestine. It's only 1 cell thick between the lumen of the tube and the blood supply. There's a really good blood supply. This makes sure there's always a concentration gradient. See why that's important today. Short diffusion distance, so nutrients to move, 1 cell thick, good concentration. So there's always a difference in concentration between inside the lumen and in. There's always going to be more sugars or whatever in the lumen and less in the blood. And we've got this large surface area because of all of these tiny little villi and structures that help increase the surface area. And we're going to talk more about those. So from the small intestine, this bit here, the really good blood supply that we were just looking at, which then lead to the liver, and go to the liver via this vein here, and it's called the hepatic portal. So the first place that anything we absorb goes to is the liver. Where our liver actually gets really damaged from alcohol consumption or excessive alcohol consumption, place where that blood goes to.